All right, I got 5 o'clock, so are we good to go, Linda?
We are good to go.
All right, with that, I'm going to call to order the Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners Emerging Technology Committee meeting for Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. And I will ask Commissioner Bourne to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America under the Republic. I'm sorry. Sorry. Gosh dang it, Tommy. Can you take it, Tommy? I got something in my throat. I'm sorry. Oh. Dang.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. Father,
No, I
department.
started doing it. I got something stuck in my throat. I'm sorry.
I'll ask the department to take the roll.
Chairman and Commissioner Caviglia,
Here.
Commissioner Bourne,
Here.
Commissioner Rogers,
Here.
and Commissioner Young.
Here.
All right, thank you. That will go to agenda item number 2, public comment period. Persons wishing to speak are required to sign in. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the committee at this time. However, the committee may consider items brought up to be scheduled on a future committee agenda. So any public comment? All right, I don't see any. With that, I'm going to go to agenda item number 3, approval of the agenda. For possible action, the committee will review the agenda and may take action to approve the agenda. The committee may remove items from the agenda, continue items for consideration, or take items out of order. So has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Any questions or comments? Doesn't look like any. I'll take it out to the public. Any public comments specific to the agenda?
Chair, could I just remind people if they wanted to make a comment that they just look down the bottom of their screen and raise their hand? And
All right, thank you.
no public comment.
Okay, with that, I'll bring it back to the committee.
Yeah. If there's no other discussion, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make a motion for approval of today's agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, agenda item number 4, approval of minutes for possible action. Minutes from the June 9th, 2025 meeting may be approved. Any questions or comments regarding the minutes? I didn't have any.
No.
Okay, any public comment regarding the minutes? Don't see any, so with that, I'll bring it back to the committee.
I can make a motion to approve agenda item number 4, approval of minutes.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. Agenda item number 5, member items, announcements, and correspondence informational. Commissioners may present emergent items, so action may be taken by the committee. Any item requiring committee action may be scheduled on a future committee agenda. The committee will review and may discuss correspondence sent or received by the committee and may provide copies for the exhibit file. Commissioners may provide hard copies of their correspondence for the written record. Correspondence sent or received by the department may also be discussed. And we have received some correspondence. I know the department forwarded to all that to all of us. So, anything else? No, doesn't look like it. All right, I'll keep rolling. Agenda item number 6, fish finding sonar devices. Gabor and Brad Crane for possible action. A presentation will be given on fish finding sonar devices, including draft linkage.
Brad, are you able to turn your video on and show the screen?
Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, we've got you.
Okay, perfect.
All right, good evening. Well, I'll go ahead and share my screen really quick. I've got a quick presentation.
We can barely hear you.
Let's see. You able to hear me now?
Yeah, I've got you.
Okay. Perfect. All right. And can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm Brad Crane. I'm game warden with the Department of Wildlife. Run through this quickly. All right. So the drafted language for the live fishing sonar is going to stay relatively the same. I added one line for the use in this section, which is going to be a depiction of a live continuous feed to the angler. And that's just going to clarify that the information being brought from a live sonar needs to be depicted to that angler immediately and continuously. Just the difference between a 2D versus a 3D or a live sonar. I didn't change anything from what was drafted previously on the recommendation of demerits. Going into our 5 guidelines to investigate the need to regulate. The first 3 generally deal with fair chase, and I'll expand on this a little bit later in the presentation, but I did talk to several other states who have conducted surveys and studies regarding the use of live feed sonar and its practice of fair chase and their results. So I'll expand on that momentarily. Big question is whether these are enforceable. If we were to ultimately outlaw live feed sonar or make some restrictions of some type, it would require that we provide some training what to look for as far as the differences in the screens for anglers, and then generally how that's going to be observed by game wardens on their average patrols, and then in just general we can question anglers on their use of sonar. So learning to spot the difference here. So this top left image, if you guys can see, this is what a live feed sonar looks like. So you're going to have essentially the top left of that screen is a dead spot from where the sonar is mounted to the vessel. You don't get a read, and then essentially this is saying from where it starts to read at 10 feet out or 0 feet in front of the boat, which is not where the boat makes contact with the water, but a few feet in front of the boat all the way out to the range. In this one is about 100 feet, 25 feet of water. You can see a live feedback, a group of small fish in the left side of that screen. And then this would be moving constantly as the angler was moving the scanner to get that feedback. Whereas the bottom right image here is a 3D down scan example, and this one is just going to slowly rotate across the screen. It's not an immediate feedback, it's delayed slightly, but it's basically a snapshot image, and then as the boat moves forward, you lose any continuous feedback. Just another example here. This left one's going to be more like a pan optic, so this may have a multiple live feed mounts, so you could get a much wider array of feedback. And again, this is live. You can pan this. You're going to get constant feedback, and you're going to be able to see these fish immediately and then target them specifically. Whereas the bottom right image is an example of a side scan. Same thing. It's going to be kind of a snapshot, and then that snapshot's going to continue down the screen slowly, and you're not going to get that live feed. So again, the biggest thing is the training for us as far as enforcement and detection. This is just going to ultimately be like what I just showed you guys. We're going to have to educate our game wardens on what the screens are going to look like. And as we approach people, we're already trying to look out for violations in fishing, violations already. And so spotting these screens is not going to be any additional um, problem for us if we're already keeping a close eye on any other violations that may occur. And then the verbiage on this is, as presented, I think was pretty much all that needs to be included in the verbiage. I just added that section with the immediate and constant live feedback. So, all right. So I'm gonna quickly, before I take questions on this, I just wanted to expand on. I did speak with Mississippi Fisheries, Texas Parks and Wildlife Fisheries, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, which have all conducted studies on live feed fishing sonars. The general consensus has been that anglers are able to more accurately, they can target more trophy level fish. So they're picking through these groups of fish and they're taking larger fish without catching smaller fish. So they're basically depleting trophy fish out of these fisheries. And this answers those first three questions, whether about our ability to regulate or need to regulate an item, in my opinion. So this essentially means you can take very little skill and purchase the ability to target trophy quality fish without having to do the research or have the skill to catch them, on your own, essentially. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and answer any questions. I would be open to any discussion about this from you guys as well. So.
Any questions for Brad?
I guess I'll start it off. So, Brad, thank you for the presentation. Let's say I'm fishing on Cummins right now, and you're 150 yards away from me, approaching me in a boat, and I just flip off that switch and turn the device off. Is there any way? Can you prove that I actually had it on? That's the part I'm still unclear about from last meeting.
Right. So, I mean, there's always going to be those cases where people are going to cover up or are going to be able to cover up what they'll do. I mean, that's true of any violation, but part of that comes down to, our ability to try and essentially be a bit sneaky and when you're making contact with people and confirming. It's no different than, I would say, on an average fishing contact. I have to confirm that a fisherman is actively angling in order to say that they were fishing, say, without a license, or if they had too many rods. I have to be able to confirm that. So it's no different, in my opinion, to need to take that extra time on my end to say maybe wait until you're a little bit closer or work my way around to a separate part of the lake and make that observation, prior. But like you said, there's always those instances where we're going to get caught before we can catch, and so it's unfortunate we will lose those cases, but I think the vast majority of the time we're going to be able to make those observations prior. That's, again, it comes down to that training and just making sure that we're doing good preemptive work and observation.
And one follow-up question. Back to last meeting, we talked about these devices require 3 transducers, correct?
So there's a lot of different brands out there, and most of them now are just down to a single mounting point. So there's several different mounting styles. There are ones that will take multiple, like the second example I showed on the slide, which was more of a panorama style. So those would have multiple mounts. But you can feed, some of these I've looked at, upwards of 7 transducers. But most of them are going to be a single, and then you just pan back and forth and check live.
there any other questions for Brad? I guess I do see our fisheries administrator, Chris Cruikshanks on. I would like to hear from Chris what Chris's thoughts are on these systems, if he doesn't mind.
Sure. No, I don't mind at all. Thank you, Commissioner Caviglia. My thoughts are pretty black and white on the use of forward-facing sonar in fishing. It's just it's not fair chase. It turns fishing into merely a video game. Sorting through big fish and little fish. It's just I know it's a big topic, and it's been a big topic for quite a while now. In the fish chiefs meeting, we have fish chiefs meeting on a monthly basis, both Western and all across the U.S. And most of the fish chiefs have been struggling on how to tackle this technology, and I'm just really happy to see that Nevada's taking the lead at trying to do something. I would anticipate other states to follow the lead, or at least look over our shoulder and see what we're doing. But yeah, I don't think it's it's a lot like a lot of the other technologies that you'll be hearing about tonight. It's just where do you put the bar on fairness?
All right, thank you, Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Chairman Caviglia. Mr. Cruikshanks, quick question now that we have you on. Has any other states passed any regulations or legislation similar to this, or it sounds like we would be first? Is there anything in the ballpark of what we're looking at right now?
No, to my knowledge, Commissioner Young, no other states have passed any regulations. Everyone's sort of looking at each other, wondering who's going to be the first to tackle it. And as far as I know, no other states have any regulations in place for this technology yet.
Thanks.
If I could jump in on that question too. One of the states, Mississippi, when I spoke to them, they actually did reduce limits on several of their lakes. For crappie is one of their biggest issues with the targeting of trophy level quality fish. So they actually reduced their limits on several of their lakes due to this sonar study that they did.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just had a quick question, and that is, I'm just curious, with the sport fishing community as large as it is, and particular here in Southern Nevada on Lake Mead, with the various bass tournaments that roll through the lake out here. Just curious, what, if anything, the organized fishing tournament, I don't even know what the right vernacular is, but the organized fishing tournaments that are taking place.
Oh, Commissioner Rogers, you froze up. We lost him for a minute there.
If you'd like, I can go ahead and field at least the portion of the question that I was able to hear. But
go ahead.
Yeah, so the fishing tournaments, I mean, there's obviously dozens of those that are around the states, but the biggest ones, they pretty much change every year on this topic. Most of them are becoming more and more restrictive each year, to the point that there's even large circuits now that have completely banned them for use during tournaments. So we are seeing a decline in the use of these technologies, even in the tournament circuits. They recognize that the fair chase issue is also a problem.
I apologize, Chair. I think I went froze up there. I don't know if you guys can hear me now. Hopefully, okay.
Yeah, we got you now.
So it sounds like maybe Mr. Crane got the question, and that is about the organized bass fishing tournaments that are becoming so popular and more popular. And I might have missed that first response to that question, Mr. Crane, and that is, so are these organized fishing tournaments? Have they banned this type of technology, or do they allow it in these various tournaments? Just curious.
Yeah, so and just to reiterate that, so they've generally, over the years, as this technology has progressed, I've followed several of the largest circuits on this, and they've become more and more restrictive. Some of the larger ones now have started to actually ban them outright. But yeah, every year it seems to get more and more restrictive.
Thank you. Any other committee questions for Brad? Doesn't look like any. So with that, I'll take it out for public comment. So any public comment regarding fish finding sonar devices?
Nothing at the moment.
All right. With that, I'll bring it back to the committee, see what everybody's kind of final thoughts are. Everybody's pretty quiet. I myself, personally, right now where I'm at, I don't have a problem passing the draft language to the commission level. Maybe at that point, it's a lot of times at that level we get a little more comment from the public versus the committee. I don't have a problem with the proposed regulation itself, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would be supportive of that too. To your point, I think that when stuff from the various committees does bubble up to the commission, it tends to get a little bit more visibility and a little more awareness around it. So I'd be curious to at least move it to the commission for some additional discussion, see where other commissioners' heads are at with it, and maybe hopefully having some additional public comment around the subject as well. So,
Commissioner Bourne?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to passing it along to the whole commission. I still have enforcement issues in my head, and that is one thing that we have to make sure of on all this emerging technology, is that we pass stuff that is enforceable. But if we move it forward and get more ideas from the commission level, I'm not opposed to that.
And Chairman Caviglia, I echo the other committee members. I'm comfortable in its current form, kind of move it along in the process, and looking forward to continuing the conversation at the commission level.
All right. With that, would anyone like to make a motion?
Yeah, Chair, I'll go ahead and attempt to make a motion. So I'd like to make a motion as it pertains to fish finding sonar devices, and have that item, along with the draft language that's been proposed, moved on for further discussion at the commission level.
All right, we've got a motion, and I'll second that. So we've got a motion and a second. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. We'll go to agenda item number 7, range finding devices. Game Warden Captain Jake Kramer for possible action, a presentation on range finding devices, their capabilities, and information on these devices from other states.
All right, Jake Kramer, Game Warden Captain, for the record. In preparing for the presentation tonight, I found information on other states as requested that pertain to restrictions or ability to use this information. I also found that the information found that technologies were extremely similar, and so I called Chairman Rogers, or I'm sorry, Vice Chair Rogers, and asked for a little bit of direction as to handle the information that I'm going to give you. He requested that I err on the side of more information and kind of do a little bit of a recap as well. So what you're going to see today is kind of a recap on all of that and some new stuff. Okay. So we're going to cover definitions, discuss Western states' prohibitions or allowances, types of smart scopes, including auto adjusting and manual adjusting, and then we'll get into some archery smart scopes. The definition of a smart scope, I'm sorry, can you see my screen?
We cannot. Yeah.
You cannot. Okay, well that, here I am going through everything here. All right. I apologize. This is not working correctly. Something else. Okay, about that one.
You got it now.
Okay, sorry about that. You got to be smarter than technology, apparently. All right. Okay, so again, this is the overview. If you can see those, I don't know what you're seeing. I'm sorry. The definitions are smart scopes are designated to designed to bridge a gap between traditional. Is it not working? Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. All right. Smart scopes are designed to bridge a gap between traditional rifle optics and technological intelligence, amplifying the shooter's capability and capacity to align, aim, and execute shots with augmented precision and information. Smart scopes may utilize features like digital data displays, ballistic calculations, and connectivity to external devices, creating a situation where real-time data and optical excellence converge. Traditional scopes primarily focus on providing clear and magnified visuals of the target, and smart rifle scopes elevate that by this foundation by integrating the technological advanced components that provide the shooter with real-time data, calculated adjustments, and options to customize their shooting parameters. This can include instantaneous calculations, ballistic trajectories, providing varied reticle options, and even recording shooting sessions. So in my research as to what states allow for smart scope technology and what don't, this is what I found. So it's kind of almost a 50-50 mix. There is a caveat here in most of it is a yes or no. It's either they allow it or they don't. Colorado is kind of both. I did make a phone call to one of their wardens out there. Essentially, Colorado allows for the electronic scopes until it reaches the definition of what they consider a ballistic computer. And that is a very poor definition itself. So the difference would essentially be a full consideration of environmental factors and automatic correction within the rifle scope. At that point, Colorado would prohibit its use. But the mere, providing data to the scope from some kind of external factor or a rangefinder within the scope is still allowable. It's just when it automatically allows for reticle selection within the scope that they prohibited at that point. Example of that would be the Burris Eliminator 6. That's the newest version. It would not be legal in Colorado, for example, because it provides environmental calculations like weather, barometric pressure, things like that. And it also provides an automatic aiming point within the scope. However, most smart scopes are allowable in that state. Also, if you'll turn your attention to archery, the archery rangefinder sites, you'll also see it's kind of a 50-50 mix as well. And we'll get into those in a little bit. So types of smart scopes. Smart scopes offer varying degrees of functions. However, they can generally be categorized into automatic adjustment or manual adjustment of the reticles. Smart scopes use sensors and processors, displays, connectivity modules, and offer an accurate shooting solution. The sensors, these detect and measure things like the distance, the wind speed, and elevation. Processors calculate adjustments to compensate for windage and elevation, bullet drop, and provide real-time data to the shooter. Most of these scopes offer a display within the scope that the shooter can see without actually coming back off the scope. And then they can also connect to other devices like GPSs, weather kestrels, for example, weather stations, and even some other types of weather stations that might be, like actual weather stations on mountains. Smart scopes automatic adjustment. There are very few scopes that automatically adjust the scope reticle's aiming point. These require the shooter preload their rifle ballistics data into the app or directly into the onboard scope computer. So an example again is the Burris Eliminator 6. That's about a $3,000 scope, and it has an onboard rangefinder. When activated, will range the target. Again, it automatically adjusts for barometric pressure, which is going to be your elevation and altitude, and other variables like angle and such. And then it will automatically put a reticle point in your scope to where all you need to do is just put that dot on the target and pull the trigger. Another example is the SIG Sierra BDX. The scope, when paired with the SIG BDX enabled rangefinders, will send a signal to the rifle scope and display the correct illuminated aim point in that reticle. I do have an example of that. Just a quick video. This is the SIG.
The Sig Sauer Ballistic Data Exchange, BDX, is the most advanced optic system available. There are 3 easy ways to use.
Hey Jake, we can't see the YouTube video. Just give me a heads up.
Alone. Once you have entered your bullet data, you can customize your own illuminated BDX reticle with up to 8 ballistic dots. No more.
It's on. It is. Are you guys still unable to see it?
No, yeah, we still can't see it.
I don't have any clue what is going on with this thing. All right, well, let me continue without that. It's not imperative. We'll just keep going. All right, the smart scope manual adjustments. There's numerous examples of smart scopes on the market that provide the data to the shooter, but do not automatically adjust the aim point of the reticle. Instead, the scopes may utilize either a separate or an onboard connection with ballistic apps and wind meters and weather stations, in addition to the rangefinders to provide an accurate ballistic solution to the shooter. The data is provided to the shooter via a small internal screen within the scope, and the shooter then manually makes the adjustments in their scopes on turrets and uses the regular and traditional reticle within their scope. An example of those would be a SIG Sauer Bravo series, which is about $1,000+ scope. And then the newest one on the market is a Revic, which is a Gunworks brand, radical smart scope. It's about a $4,000 scope. So the Bravo, the SIG, it has a Bluetooth link that enabled rangefinders in F. Once range has been determined, you can view the integrated display, which shows data such as wind data, angle, mils or MOA adjustments needed in the yardage and distance. The scope will not automatically adjust the aim point, but the shooter will turn the scope turret until the turret adjust matches the distance range. And that basically the same thing for the Revic reticle scope. Here's an example of the internal, what it looks like within the SIG scope. So you can see it's a standard reticle that you're looking at. And at the very top of the screen, this is going to be information like how many yards. You can see it's 653 yards. It's coming up 4.6, whether that's mils or minutes of angle. They put 3-mile-an-hour wind input and direction into that. And all this is, again, information that is being given to the scope via Bluetooth from an external device or devices such as a rangefinder or a Kestrel or something. This is what the Revit scope internal screen looks like. And again, it's going to be very similar in size to the one you saw before. This is just a blown up version. So just a very, very small section of that scope. Again, you're going to see all the same information, wind direction, wind speed, elevation, temperature, altitude, all this information to help the shooter make the best shot possible. Moving on to archery sights. Archery sights that integrate technologies which may include laser rangefinders and angle compensation, mapping, automatic aim point, illumination, and on a digital display. So there's no sight pins. It just has either a piece of glass or a line of, lack of better terms, an LED strip that's going to light up a certain portion of that strip, give you an aim point. Examples are those, the Garmin Xero A1 bow sights are like about $1,100. And the Burris Oracle 2 range-finding bow sight's about $720. So what the Garmin will allow you to do, it has an automatic pin stack. So you calibrate your 20-yard pin, you enter your bow speed, your draw length, and your arrow diameter, and it will automatically create a pin stack for your bow's estimated distance. So that's basically, you want to reference that to a gun, you're creating your own dope chart for your arrows. You can also customize arrow profiles, so you can set different profiles for different arrows that you want to shoot. So if you want to go heavy on this one hunt, you can select that arrow and its trajectories versus your target arrows or something else. You can use a laser locate feature. The waypoint projection features pairs with a compatible Garmin GPS. So you can range a location and then it will map it for you on a GPS. Of course, they have a laser rangefinder out to about 300 yards. And this particular sight allows you to increase your distance up to about 300 yards for longer shots. That's what it looks like. You can see that there's no pins, but that is all a piece of glass. And it will just show based on where it lasers your target, it'll show a dot, illuminated dot somewhere in that glass to aim on. The other one is the Burris Oracle 2 range-finding bow sight. Again, you sight in at 20 yards plus a couple of the distances, and it learns your trajectory of your arrow from that point on. You can add up to 2 additional distances for extreme long range. And if you notice that kind of a theme here is extreme long range, both on rifles and on archery equipment as well. So it's providing all that kind of stuff. It instantly calculates the exact trajectory and the distance and the shot angles, including the shot angle up or downhill as well. It calculates that. Here's what one would look like on the Burris Oracle 2. So the top pin, you can see that is your standard 20-yard pin. That's always going to show. And then from that point on, wherever you range your animal, your 20-yard pin will stay. And then down that line, it will show you your aim point in that stack. That is what I have for you. Apologize if the video wasn't working. What questions do you have?
Any questions for Jake? Everybody's pretty quiet. Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it just, again, centers around some of the questioning that we had previously on the fish finder stuff, and that is, the regulation and what states have really stepped out. I think you had a slide at the get-go there. I mean, where there's at their commission levels or their legislative levels. I'm just curious, the states that have really enacted on regulation around these types of devices.
Yes, I do have paperwork that I put together in preparation for this, with it has the different states' regulations, and I can, I'd be happy to send those to you. And how, basically how they came up with whatever language they had, what is the threshold, if you will, between what they're allowing and what they're not allowing. But a lot of the language, though, is pretty simple. It's either they do allow it or they don't allow electronics in your scopes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the backup data you provided too, looking at some of the language you included there. It's basically it. It's basically just saying you can't have electronics on your scopes or archery sites. And that alone pretty much eliminates all that.
Yes.
Yeah. Commissioner Young.
Thank you. Thanks, Jake, for the presentation. In the field, are you or other wardens seeing a lot of these scopes? Obviously, right now they're legal, but are you guys coming across these, or what do you think as to a ballpark percentage, or just how much use are we seeing on the landscape of these?
That's a great question. Currently, as of the last couple of years, I don't know. I'd probably refer that to the chief or another warden. However, just based on experience, most hunters don't use these types of technologies. However, it's a very big growing trend. So long range hunting is an increasing trend, as is long distance shooting, just for fun, which those kind of go hand in hand. And so what we tend to see is this type of technology, whatever is in the long distance world for target shooting, creeps into long distance hunting in the hunting world. So we are seeing an increase in this. I can't tell you exactly what groups of people. I'm not going to really go out on a limb and say it's commercial hunting, like guides or anything like that. It may not be. Could be anybody. But I think we are seeing an increase in these kind of technologies. The Burris scopes have been out for a very long time. Not to the extent they are now, where they have onboard weather and altimeters, things like that. However, they've always had the ability to just have a rangefinder and put the pin on based on whatever you're ranging at the moment. So the difference, if I may just expand on that, where the technology has really increased that makes the biggest difference is the ability to take in the environmental factors. Altitude being, I think, the number one. And giving the shooter an absolute, if they put in all their ballistic data into their scope or into their apps correctly, in the first place. So they would need to know their muzzle velocities, they need to know the ballistic coefficient of the bullets, and they need to know what their range of zero is, such as 200 yards, example, and then the weight of the bullet. So if they know that, ballistic apps are easy, they can build these profiles, but the one thing that they don't take into consideration is if I zero my rifle down at valley floor level at 4,500 feet, and I'm hunting up at 9,000 feet, that could be up to 2.5 minutes of angle difference. When you calculate that out at 800-yard shot, we're at 20 inches different. Not even taking into consideration jumping the trigger, breathing problems, all that kind of stuff. So, is it good technology? It provides a way better shooting solution. But is it too good? I don't know. It's data is all it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think like this topic's a perfect one for emergent technologies, because I think it's just going to get better. It's going to exponentially get better, like everything we see. And for me, that's kind of where this committee was created, is for just this thing, and then the committee and the commission maybe have to make that decision, like, where do we want to draw the line, right? Is this the line we want to draw? Do we want to draw it now? Do you want to let the technology expand? do you want more people to get in their hands at that point when the commission wants to try to ban it, right? Like this is an absolute emergent one. And it does, I love long distance shooting. I've done it forever and I use all the toys out there. I don't use these, but, I mean, it's appealing. It definitely simplifies the process. There's no question about it. So, I mean, for me personally, and like the archery one, it really simplifies the archery one, right? Myself, I don't have a problem going after the electronics on scopes and archery sites right now myself, but any additional questions or comments from any committee members?
The only thing that I would say, Mr. Chair, is kind of along the lines of what you were talking about, and that is the technology is only going to get better on this stuff. This is an emergent item, and I think that maybe one of the limiting factors today could possibly be the cost of some of these items, and inevitably these costs will start to come down and become more affordable, for the average hunter. And I think that at that point in time, it starts to get in more and more hands and the abuses. So anyway, certainly emergent technology item. I'm glad we're talking about it. So,
right, Commissioner Bourne.
I think the Colorado's language is much too specific, and it might paint us into a corner for future electronics, where if you just stick with the simple "with any electronics" statement, it covers everything. And I think that's a better way to go, and I think that will cover us better in the future. Those are my thoughts anyway.
Yeah, and I agree completely. So any additional committee questions or comments real quick before I go out for public comment? Okay, seeing none, so I will take it out to public comment. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, so my name is James Richards. Just for clarification on this, is it would be your guys' idea of having just the electronics in the scope itself, or are you also going to be limiting like the items like the Kestrel or apps on your cell phone that gives you the ballistic calculation or anything like that?
Yeah, I think right now the discussion is specific to the attached to the scope or the archery site itself.
Okay. I've been shooting long range and stuff like that, and just as like a general public thing, I just recently attended a long range shooting course in Northern California. It was a 2-day course. We went through all of like the ballistics and everything that Captain Kramer was talking about, out to 1,000 yards. And at that thing, we had life-size game animals, steel targets out in the field and all that kind of stuff. The first day of that class was the instructor grilling us on the ethics of long range shooting, and like the importance of not over pushing your boundaries of your firearm, of your skill level, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it also comes down to the shooter skill level. And in addition to Captain Kramer's thing of environmental factors, altitude is a fantastic one. I mean, it's a major portion, but you also have your wind. Shooting out to 1,000 yards, I can do it all day, every day, but it takes a lot of training and to do it in any sort of kind of wind condition and in our mountainous areas, shooting across canyons and stuff like that.
All right, we lost you, James. All right, Bryce.
What that shooter is actually capable of.
Okay, cool. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you. It's Bryce Green for the record. Start by saying thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'll just kind of go start right off the bat here and just say I'm not really liking the language of banning scopes with, I guess, technology attached to them, that sort of thing. I think with all the thermal stuff going on, I see this as maybe another way to attack thermals, because a lot of the thermals have that built-in shot adjustment technology. Not to mention that thermals are technological scopes. Like you can't have a thermal without having technology. So that language is obviously a bit scary. So I mean, with this all being built on the concept of fair chase, I think we would all agree that deer and coyotes have a different standard of fair chase applied to them. So just a question for, well, actually, I remember Vice Chairman Rogers saying this. I think I asked this last time, but someone like myself who's more interested in coyote hunting than I am deer hunting. Or I just want to ask, are you proposing an all-out ban on these certain types of scopes, or would there be some sort of exclusive language there that makes it so that you could only not use these scopes for hunting big game? So that's my question.
Thank you, Bryce. DJ?
DJ Wilson for the record from Winnemucca, Nevada. I just have a little concern with the language on the archery sites and just broadening it out to no electronics, because currently lighted pins are allowed in a standard archery site. And if you just do all electronics, suddenly that's not going to be allowed anymore. And that is my only concern on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Cal?
So Bryce got talked to some of what I was wondering is basically, coyotes, varmints, stuff like that. I don't see why this would be withheld from hunting coyotes, varmints, stuff like that. I would definitely say big game, yes, it should not be allowed. But as far as varmints and stuff like that, I think it shouldn't be an issue. That's all I got on that.
Thank you, Cal. Mike?
Yeah, thank you. Mike Reeves for the record. Mr. Cavilla, I'd like to hear more conversation on success rate. I know that our success rate in the last couple of years has been lower than normal. I'm familiar with it being around the 42 to 48%, and I would be concerned if we start getting up into the 60s to 70%.
I think you muted yourself, Mike. You went on mute.
Oh, I'm probably in a bad area. Okay. I don't know what you heard of me, but I would like to hear more data that you guys may have on success rates. I know that in the past our trend has been 42 to 48, but of late it's been a lot lower than that. So I'd like to, when you guys decide what you want to do and how you move forward, I hope that you guys are taking into consideration some of the success rate or lack of success rate. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Marshall?
Another I'm just Marshall Everton for the record. Another comment in regards to the big game versus unprotected species, making that classification. Also, I think the distinction should be a game animal versus a non-game or unprotected animal. I can't remember exactly how the NACs listed it, so that we're including small game, birds, things of that nature in that process. I don't know if there's technology for the shotguns. I don't know if there's the bow sights for small game, for birds, pheasants, things like that. That could really take its toll, ground shooting a chucker or something like that. Just thought process, game animal versus unprotected. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Hunter Morai from Fallon. Couple things. First, on the archery sites, I would kind of parrot what DJ said. I would encourage the committee to not focus on all electronics on both sites. There's definitely times when you can't see your pins in the middle of the day, depending on the lighting. So having a lighted option for those pins is definitely critical. As far as the Garmin goes, if long range hunting is your point of concern. The Garmin's actually going to limit the amount of distance you get out of that site because it's stationary. Whereas something like a mover, you can get a lot more distance out of that. And then lastly, my concern with the scopes would be it's more of a stepping stone to other optics. So if if this is going to be something that starts moving into the binos, the rangefinders, because that technology is in both of them, you start getting down a rabbit hole of phone apps. I guess the concern would be that we start going after more technology and more products than we necessarily need to. Thank you.
Thank you. George?
Yeah, George Forbush speaking for myself. I just want the commission to consider people with disabilities. I don't, I was just sitting there thinking, are people with disabilities using some of this equipment to help them succeed in harvesting animals? And before you move forward on this, I just encourage you to investigate whether or not you'd be taking something away from them before you take action, or maybe consider an exemption for them specifically. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Any additional public comment, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any. With that, I'll bring it back to the committee for future discussion. Yeah, and I myself, I think it's easy that if the committee wants to look at some language on this to do the carve out specific to big game hunting, right? Because I myself, I have no intent of limiting it on like for predator hunting or anything like that. I think that's easy language to add to that specific to big game hunting. Any other further discussions or thoughts? I can make a motion to, what I'd like to do is I'd like to direct the department specific to the electronics in rifle scopes or archery scopes to draft some proposed language. And I know Jake did compile some from the other states, maybe have the law enforcement division look at those, because we don't need to start from scratch, right? Kind of look at the other states, see which ones we think will fit best, see which ones are the most enforceable, but have the department draft some proposed language for review at a future committee meeting.
I'll go on second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. We will go to agenda item number 8, thermal imaging, Chief Game Warden Christy Knight for possible action. A presentation for continued committee review of draft thermal imaging language returned by the commission following the June meeting.
Chief Game Warden Christy Knight for the record. This evening, I will only show the language that was presented in the June commission meeting. But before I do that, I would actually like to thank James Richards. He actually took the time to meet with us and discuss the pros of thermals. And we had another meeting set up to actually go out with the gentleman. And unfortunately, he had to cancel last second. He was actually going to take us out at night and discuss some of the advantages and things that we could pick up. So we are trying to do a little bit more investigating on these and where we can find some more in the middle. And then just go ahead and talk about what was presented at the commission meeting in June. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
So again, the language that was presented in June, the big changes were, except as otherwise provided in subsection 3, the person shall not possess or use or use any of the following equipment or devices at any time during the period beginning July 1st and ending December 31st of each year. So that was the biggest change within this regulation that brought a lot of debate into this subject, Before, it was just while hunting or taking any game mammal or game bird, or while locating game mammals or game birds for the purpose of hunting or taking, including without limitation to electronic night vision equipment, electronically enhanced light gathering devices, thermal imaging devices, infrared night vision equipment, or any other comparable equipment or device used to enhance night vision. And this section didn't change at all. The provisions of subsection 1 do not limit the use of sight attached to a firearm, bow, or crossbow that is powered by a battery contained within the sight, is illuminated by light gathering fiber optics, or uses a radioactive isotope such as a tritium. And then this section was completely added, and this gives it exemptions to state employees, municipalities, and the federal government. So I just want to bring forward again what was shown in the Joint Commission meeting and see where we would like to go from here. If there's any suggestions, ideas, we did not bring any forward for this go. We just want to see where the commission would like to go from here.
All right. Any additional thoughts by the committee since the last commission meeting? So I'll lay it out there. Everybody knows where I'm at. My thoughts have not changed. If anything, they've got stronger. I think we need to do something. I think potentially the season dates proposed by, in my opinion, the season dates proposed by the department could be adjusted. And again, I think you could, I guess, if the committee chooses to look at it to forward to the commission, I think you could limit it to certain counties during that window to start with. And then down the road, the commission has the potential to modify that if they believe there's abuse going on. But I've talked to a lot of individuals since the last commission meeting, and there's no question it's getting abused. I just by pure happenstance, just kind of a side story, I was just in Canada hunting, ran into individuals from New Mexico. One of those individuals is an outfitter. He was in the same hunting camp, and he was talking about using thermals, how they go out at first light, they can glass a canyon, they know exactly where, it's not that you're like looking exactly for your target animal, but you can glass that canyon, you know exactly where everything is at, and then you know exactly where to look at daylight. Your glassing time is reduced, and I've heard that same story from multiple people. It's not that you're able to glass up the exact target buck you want in October, November. It's, you know exactly where to look. Now you can just focus your glass right there till that critter pops out. I talked to another individual that hunts Coues deer in Mexico every year. They flat out admitted, and this is a very high profile hunting individual, flat out admitted they use thermals down there, and right out of his mouth, he said the Coues deer do not stand a chance. So for me, and I know the predator side of this doesn't appreciate my position on this, and I've supported predator hunters for my entire time on the commission, but this is this is a hill I will die on. I think we've got to add, we already have a regulation against it, but this is solely to add the additional enforcement component of it to the department, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I'm at. It is not fair chase by any stretch of the imagination. So that's kind of where I'm at. Chief Knight.
One thing I did forget to add, if I can, so Captain Jake Kramer was able to get a case from Oregon, if you would like to see that presented at a following committee meeting. And it was in broad daylight, numerous violations, and how they ended up catching them.
Thank you. Any additional committee comments or questions before we go out to public comment? Okay, don't see any. So with that, I'll take it out to public comment. I guess everybody's up on the screen. So let's start with Hunter Morai. Go ahead, Hunter. All right, we don't got Hunter. What about Bryce?
Oh, can you hear me now?
I got you now, Hunter. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. I just want to start by saying I don't own a thermal. I'm not a predator hunter. I'm here speaking on my thoughts on it because I think it's important to note that. And I fully support the position of thermals have no place in big game hunting. Um, my concern is that thermals are already illegal for big game hunting, and yet it hasn't stopped anyone from using them. I don't see how the outright ban will reduce the number of big game hunters using them. Instead, I think new bans, or sorry, instead of new bans, I think we need to consider harsher penalties and other deterrents. We should make people afraid to use them through more severe fines and punishments. I think we need to work with our game wardens to give them the tools necessary they need to crack down on this. Start with focusing on our biggest offenders, our guides and outfitters. If you're a guide in this state and you don't have a thermal, you're simply losing. Your competitors are all running them. And it's not just guides, I know that. Everybody's using them virtually now. The commission holds guides to a higher standard, and I think if we start making examples out of them, it's going to start scaring some other people out of using them. I think we should encourage hunters in the field to report more thermal use and encourage clients that are running with guides to report your thermal use. I think there's better options to pursue before we enact an outright ban. If people are already breaking the law, another ban won't deter them until we start making them fear getting caught and facing real consequences. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Bryce.
All right, Bryce Screen for the record. I just want to thank you guys for discussing this. For me, I completely agree with everything Hunter said. But my question is, I think if we're going to enact some sort of legislation such as an outright ban, I think we should have ample evidence. And so my question is, where's the evidence? How many thermal related convictions do we have? And I guess to save us the time, I'll answer the question for us. It's nearly zero in the last few years. And so if it was as bad as it was supposed to be, we would clearly have dozens of convictions, dozens of citations on this issue. And so I think I would have assumed it was common sense to say this, but I would hope that we don't create legislation based on hearsay and myths. So and then you also mentioned banning it in counties. I know the Nevada Predator Hunters Association kind of sees it going that way in terms of where we expect you guys to go with this. But as you said, you're fully open to expanding it to other counties, and so it's just death by a thousand cuts. Me personally, I can say for myself, I completely reject this. I completely reject the idea of changing anything except for adding more severe punishments. I think that it's common sense. But that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. We'll go to Cal.
Yeah, so Cal Bryant for the record, Winnemucca, Nevada. I'm in support of no season limiting thermals. We already have laws in effect that basically state it. I mean, it's illegal to use thermals for big game hunting. There's too many things being brought up regarding issues that are already illegal. The use of thermals for finding and harvesting big game, already illegal. We are dealing with something similar in the hound community. Some are wanting new regulations because of already illegal issues being brought up that are either not being brought up to law enforcement or no sufficient evidence to pursue and convict said persons. In this instance, I would agree to max demerits if people are caught violating the rules in place. And I heard rumor that Endow only has 3 thermal optics at their use. I would say, let's ante up the game and let's get them out there and available to watch what's going on. I'm in favor of more law enforcement and definitely not in favor of limiting these guys because a lot of them are doing a hell of a job protecting our big game, our livestock, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal. We'll go to George.
Hi, George Forbush from the Nevada Predators Hunting Association. Our position on this hasn't changed either. We believe we should enforce the current law, as others have already spoken to. I know we have about 41 wardens out in the field, including admin staff, and most of them work day shift. And I believe some of those wardens should have to modify their shifts to catch people doing this at night. But if this stuff is happening during day shift as well, then it's pretty easy to ask the question, why haven't we caught people using thermals during day shift hours? Arrests aren't being made, citations aren't being issued. So this is a law enforcement issue, and we need these guys out there. Like others have said, we need to give them the opportunity to get out there, give them the equipment if they need it. I'm more than happy to support increasing the demerits and the fine, but I'm adamantly opposed to a statewide ban, a county-specific ban, or taking any months away from predator hunters who are out there specifically targeting non-big game species, where this does not violate fair chase. And I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Let's go to Marshall.
Marshall Everton for the record. This issue and others, such as the shed hunting, hound hunting situation, seem to warrant changes based on hearsay of laws being broken, but there's actually no or very limited investigation, citation, or convictions of violations. The bulk of these violations seem to be coming, or the bulk of the reports of these violations seem to be coming from the eastern portion of the state and are not an issue in other places. Hunters, by and large, follow the laws. I know people personally who have used thermal devices to assist in location of game prior to legal shooting light before it was illegal to use these devices. Since that time, to my knowledge, they have given up that practice. If something is already illegal, trust the system, trust the sportsmen and the general public that the laws are adhered to. Also, we agreed that we need to give the game wardens the opportunity to have these tools that the people are allegedly using. Support their efforts, support more game wardens, support the law enforcement for the state. Only when verified, documented, and repeated reports of violations have occurred, look into making a change. And then a question, I know you may not be able to answer it directly. Are the seasons that was presented by the game warden chief July 1st to December 31st for possession of these thermals, or just use? And then the question again, can predator hunters still use them? Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall. We'll go to James.
Yeah, thank you, James Richards. So I just want to point out that all of the cases that you pointed out are everybody breaking the law, right? So the predator hunter in Nevada isn't out there doing all these bad things that you're saying. We're out there trying to do our work with the predators and keeping the populations down and doing what we're trying to do. I had a meeting with Chief Knight, and in that we were talking about, it comes down to the hunter doing the ethical thing. You were talking about people doing unethical hunting practices. The predator community is not doing that. So I think we need to support the law enforcement division. They have fully staffed now, so give them ample time to do what they're supposed to be doing. Encourage all the other hunters in the state of Nevada to report the violations. And maybe if it's such an issue, let's start reaching out through social media saying, hey, you can't do this. Maybe people just don't know, and you are making them criminals without knowing it. So, I mean, it could be, a few of those things. Thanks.
Thank you, James. Adam? Go ahead, Adam. Adam, you can unmute yourself. Let's go ahead and allow Joe on the panel. Go ahead, Joe.
This is Joe Crawford for the record. I do not support a ban of thermal optics. I think that thermal optics have a legitimate and beneficial use for predator removal. These tools enhance the hunter's ability by allowing visual identification of varmints and enhance harvest practices. Banning a tool based solely on its potential for misuse, that's a dangerous precedent. And the precedent is if you're in possession of a thermal image, then you are automatically guilty. I do not support that type of regulation in any way, shape, or form. Especially when the department is using sportsmen's generated funds for predator removal. I don't think it is wise to remove a efficient tool from the predator hunters when we're paying contractors to go out and remove these animals from the landscape. Something that I can support is enhancing the penalties for the misuse of thermal imaging. And I think the majority of sportsmen will support that. Increasing the penalties or doubling fines for the misuse would be a better starting point rather than implementing an outright ban. The commission should collaborate with the hunting community and develop clear guidelines for ethical use of thermal optics. This approach respects the rights of responsible sportsmen, promotes lawful hunting practices, and addresses conservation concerns without unnecessary overreach. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We'll try you again, Adam, if you could try to unmute yourself. Go ahead, Adam. I think Adam still have problems. Let's let Joel Blakesley on the panel. Go ahead, Joel.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. I just simply say the Coalition for Nevada's Wildlife opposes limiting thermal for predator hunting. That's all.
All right, thank you, Joel. We'll try Adam one more time, and if anybody else wants to comment, please raise your hand. Looked like Adam dropped off, so with that, I don't see anybody's hands raised, and I will bring it back to the committee. And just one other note, I've already spoke on it a lot, but my stance on this actually came from talking to the Eastern Region game wardens and what tool they thought they needed in their toolbox to fight it. And this was the recommendation I got from that discussion. So that's where this started for me. So any additional thoughts from the committee? Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Chairman Cavilla. Chief Knight, and I know we've gone through this extensively, and I was not at the June meeting, so this might have come up. What other states, I believe Utah has banned thermal imaging during the big game seasons. What other states? We have a list of states, Western states, that have done so or not done so.
Yes, let me pull that back up.
And the focus of the question would be, during big game seasons, because I believe all have obviously banned them for use during big game hunts, but would have done a complete ban.
You want to give me a second? I have to go through and actually pull out the ones that have complete ban on big game. It will take me a second if you guys would like to discuss for a little bit.
All right.
Any additional thoughts or comments while Chief Knight's looking at that? Don't look like any. Commissioner Bourne.
I guess first of all, I think I've said this before, but right now we can have all the bans, all the laws we want, but I'll go down the road and it's off the subject to hair. But we have 3 game wardens right now, one in Eureka, one in Nye, one in White Pine County, or one in White Pine, one in Lincoln. And we don't have the manpower to take care of the situation. And that is a worry of mine. and we've got to do something to get more game wardens in the field, or we can't take care of the laws that we have on the books, and we surely won't be able to take care of thermal imaging laws. So whatever it may take to get more game wardens over here, I am all in support of it.
Commissioner Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Bourne, but I think it's all of the above. I mean, yes, adding additional game wardens is a piece of that puzzle, but certainly I equally agree that, you know, these types of technologies and banning them is another piece of this puzzle as well. I think one of the public comments was that, you know, and I thought I wrote it down here, but the guides are using them extensively. Hunters are using them. If they're not, they're losing out to competition. So this stuff is happening, and maybe it is happening disproportionately in other counties throughout the state than others, but this activity is going on. And again, there was a lot of talk about penalties. I certainly support much stricter penalties as well. So, you know, it is difficult because there's certain things we can control and certain things we can't control. But I think if we can control, again, ban on these thermal imaging scopes, stricter on the penalties, that maybe we do start to make a dent in these things. So, I support this wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I guess one additional comment, you know, and I said this at the commission meeting, there's a reason the predator individuals are so verbal about this subject, right? Because they're lethal. That's why everybody's here, because they're absolutely lethal. That same lethality falls back on the big game side of it. And then and I said the exact same thing at the commission meeting in Elko. The one item that I have a problem with is this technology is relatively new. I mean, I think it used at the level we're using it now is probably within the last 5 years. And you cannot sit here and tell me prior to the use of thermals that our predator hunters were not lethal killing predators, right? You know, they still killed predators without this technology prior to this technology. And if anything, this technology is going to continue to get better. It's not going to get worse. We're not going backwards. It's going to exponentially get better. And that's where I have an issue with it. Everybody knows where I'm at. There's no question. So.
And don't get me wrong, I am 100% in support of the big game ban portion on thermals, 100%, and 12 demerit points. I am 100% in support of that as well. I am hung up on the predator issue. You know, I do agree with Commissioner Cavilla. We killed lots of predators before thermals, and it was efficient. I do agree with that. I am still a little bit hung up on the thermal issue. So that's my full stance, I guess.
And I'll jump in here, Chairman Cavilla. I mean, this is a tough decision. There's been a lot of good points made on this subject. I think the majority of people want this to be stopped or slowed when it comes to the big game hunting. I myself don't want it to have a negative impact on predator hunting. So it is a tough decision. I think right now, would like to continue the conversation. You know, today I'm fine continuing to move forward with it to the commission. However, want to continue to have the conversations with the individuals on this issue, as I know it's a little more difficult than when we initially heard it. With that being said, two things that I'm also willing to have conversations on are, one is slimming. I believe Commissioner Cavilla, you mentioned slimming the dates down. I think July 1st, December 31st for at least me is a little too much time. I believe the majority of this is for big game is being used from August 10th through December 4th, probably the dates that are mostly being used if they're using it on the landscape. And then also just again want to continue the conversation and not I'm not fully there yet, but would like to move forward.
Yeah, and then maybe, I mean, we can make a motion, or it's kind of where I'm at. I'm not near at the point to take it out of committee to the commission level, but maybe, and again, I think those dates could be shrunk. And then if there's any appetite, like I said, to start with a couple counties, a handful of counties, and then obviously if, like we said, down the road, if the commission down the road sees an issue that can be expanded, the public even reference that. So I don't have a problem. Maybe if it's the flavor of the committee here, that maybe we can have the department tweak that proposed language a little bit with some of that criteria and look at it in another committee meeting.
Yeah, and Chairman Cavalier, I apologize, I'll jump back in there. You brought up a point that I was thinking about as well, and that is I would be more in favor of limiting the counties to start. Probably more on the eastern side where I think this is a bigger issue. But like I said, want to continue the conversation on thermals, but that's kind of where I'm at, is slimming the dates down and maybe limiting the counties just to kind of get started. Thank you.
Commissioner Bourne.
Yeah, on the county issue, are we better off to limit units versus counties and take care of some of the geographic problems with counties? I mean, just south of me, there's a point where you can stand in 2 counties and that'd be legal, and then the 3rd county, if you put your toe over the line, you'd be illegal.
I mean, yeah, we could look at that as well, if that's the flavor of the committee. Chief Knight, I see your hands back up.
If you're ready, I can tell you what states are all big game and which ones are any wildlife, and the other ones have exemptions. If you're ready. So Washington and Utah are all big game animals you cannot use thermals on. But Oregon, Wyoming, and Arizona, and California are pretty much any wildlife you cannot use thermals on. Any other state have little exemptions for non-game or small game or predatory animals.
Thank you. All right. So I guess, I don't know if we need to make a motion. I think what we could do is we'll direct the department. Let's direct the department to revise the proposed language, we'll ask to modify the season dates. I agree with Commissioner Young. We could go from August 1st to December 4th. Restrict the dates to that. And then I would ask, so then as far as unit groups, I agree with Commissioner Bourne. There's some sticky stuff there with counties. So maybe the Eastern region unit groups, the Area 11 unit groups, the Area 22 unit groups, the Area 23 unit, and then the Area 24 unit groups. And specific to those unit groups, we write language to ban them flat out for possession during those dates. Does that make sense to the committee? Okay, so for a future committee meeting, Christy, if you could modify the language to look like that, we'll have a further discussion at that time. All right, we'll go to agenda item number 9, future committee meeting and agenda items for possible action. The committee will take action to determine future committee agenda items or meeting dates, times, and location. So based on our discussion today, we'll still have the discussion on the scopes and sights on the bows and the rifle scopes, and then the thermal imaging. And that's all I've got right now, unless anybody has any other emergent technology items they'd like to bring up. I don't see any. And then we will, based on discussion with the department, the next committee meeting won't be until November. We're going to skip a committee meeting in September. So that's what we'll do. We'll look at some time. I'll work with the department. We'll schedule that in November. All right, and this is an action item, so specific to a future committee meeting and agenda items, I'll take it out for public comment. If there's any public comment, please raise your hand. Go ahead, Bryce.
Bryce Green for the record. I just wanted to ask again. I guess it was maybe not clear why we're pushing it off. I looked at the agenda for this Friday, and it was there for item 19 on Saturday, and so I'm kind of wondering why that was pushed off. I think it's almost convenient, but maybe if we could get a little bit of clarification on that.
Okay. And then Cal, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I know it's been brought in front of, brought up to raise tag fees, and the governor shot it down. What types of things could we possibly look at to increase revenue for the department to pay to afford new game wardens, trucks, the whole 9 yards? I'd like to, because we need it, obviously. So if somebody can brainstorm something like that we can get coming through, that'd be something I'd be very interested in. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments specific to the future meeting and agenda? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the committee. Unless anybody else has any additional comment, that'll be the plan. We'll have another meeting in November. All right, sounds good. So agenda item number 10, public comment period. Persons wishing to speak are requested to sign in. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the committee at this time. However, the committee may consider items brought up to be scheduled on a future committee agenda. So any general public comment? Go ahead, James.
Yeah, so I just wanted to come out and say, like, there's an obvious problem going on the eastern part of the state. I think you're having a little bit of an issue with transparency to the general public of what's going on. It's probably under investigation, but you're probably getting a lot more kickback from the predator hunters because we don't know what's going on. So we're feeling kind of railroaded in this situation. Like I told Chief Knight, the most of us are out here. We're here for you guys because they're our wildlife too, and we would like to help to figure out the situation to benefit Nevada as a whole. So, I mean, that's another thing to think of is if you guys need help, please reach out. And then the only other thing I wanted to say to Chief Knight is that my invitation is still open. If your wardens still want to come out to Hawthorne and me go to them, I'll be happy to take any one of them out. Thanks.
Thank you, James. Go ahead, Joe.
This thermal issue, I agree with you that the technology is going to just improve and it's going to get more sophisticated, more capable. And I do think that there is room for conversation to keep this going. But what I do not support is the outright ban of these things. The other thing I wanted to address too is I am also a hunting guide. I do not own a thermal and I will not employ that method because I do not personally feel that it's ethical for big game applications, but I absolutely believe it is ethical for predators. Big game responsibility as a guide is something that I take seriously, and I think that the majority of outfitters and guides do. It's a privilege for us to be able to spend that amount of time in the field and help hunters in the successful pursuit of a game animal. There are bad characters out there, and I think that this issue is really something that needs to be addressed through severe penalties. I mean, we're looking at some of the penalties from the commission that come down for people that leave trail cameras out for too long and they lose their guiding privileges for 3 years. It really seems to me that if you're intentionally using technology to increase your bottom line for profitability, then the penalty should match, and it should be a deterrent for that type of employment of technology. Thanks again. I appreciate it. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Any additional public comment? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned, and I will see everybody Friday in Ely. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys Friday.